Let me switch this back over. Whoop. There we go. Ah. Guys, I'm not a professional caster. I do not pretend to be. I just literally do this so I have people to play with. Sad, I know, but Starbo, you gotta love it. Speaking of Starbo love, if you are so inclined that you would like to donate to the Patreon account, I'll link it here in chat. Even just a $1 a month donation to Patreon will help keep these tournaments rolling. Half the tournaments are supported by me solely, and the other half are supported by that patron fund. So the tournament here, we have Avex spawning in as the pink Protoss pieces.
Good alliteration.
Yeah,
like
I'm dyslexic, and that nearly caught me up. Go ahead and introduce Nomisking for us. Oh.
Well, here's Nomisking. He is blue, he is on the top left, and he is playing Terran. I really like this map.
Yes, this map is excellent. What's your thoughts on it?
Well, as a Zerg player, I really like the wide open, fields. But at the same time, there's dead space here and there, so that ground units can't path, which means that you can still play around lurkers and things like that, and make sure you don't get that full surround happen on your army. And as far as a PvP map goes, I feel like wide open spaces is really good for, well, it's a lot better for Protoss. But at the same time, we're with these utilizing these dead spaces, we're going to see Terran make these huge long siege lines to protect his bases, and we're going to see how Avex is going to go about breaking those siege lines.
Yes, and normally the Arbiter being a key component, although Avex did leak to us before the tournament started that he intended to do some rather cheeky plays because he's out of practice. Avex, of course, a very top-level player, although his opponent, Nomisking, is no pushover either. I've been watching Nomisking play quite a bit. He plays much more of a StarCraft 2-esque style, but he knows the basics of the Brood War builds, and he does use them. Mostly plays mech, which is kind of the expected standard here. Though, due to note, bio is completely viable in Starbo. It may see some changes with the Ghost. Currently, Ghost is not quite where some players think it should be. However, the Merc is really the all-star of bio. The Merc was... Oh, we see that probe getting shot down. No scouting information for Avex.
He was able to catch a glimpse of the building factory. I'm not sure if he was able to click on it. It looked like the probe was trying to get back up there, which makes me think that he wasn't able to click on it. So
yeah, that is true.
It's a completely standard siege opening, but Avex may not think that's what it is.
Yes, and that lack of knowledge can be very frightening because mercs are scary, and he did see the tech lab, so that might indicate him merc play. Which is just frightening to have to do as Protoss. Normally in Protoss you do this opening here with the Dragoon range that we see Avex getting in their Dragoons. He's very, very comfortable with that Dragoon range. You're normally able to be the aggressor, put the pressure on. However, as the with mercs coming into play, normally I'm just kind of stumbling over my own words, guys. I'm not a caster.
Protoss is usually already on the map, getting that scouting slash. What is it? What? I heard you gasp.
We have a Stargate coming down. Which,
yeah. I was thinking the Sentinels are going to come out.
Yes. Sentinels are going to be very exciting.
The siege tank, so he's going to be a little bit more at ease. Oh wait, no, it's a scout.
Oh, hey, scouts are. Scouts are very different than
they have Destruction Web now, don't
yeah, they do have Destruction Web, and they have it baseline. They also cost a bit less. You notice that gas cost, I think, is down 25, and the mineral cost is down, I believe, 50 from Brood War. And we do have Poorly Informed, which is an awesome name, asking a question: what are the key differences between Vanilla and Starbo? So I would say the key difference between Vanilla and StarCraft 2 and Starbo are massive, because Starbo is more akin to Brood War. Starbo is a expansion upon Brood War. So if you follow Brood War, you'll see that this is very normal. Dragoons harassing a bunker that's being repaired with a siege expand pushing it away. Very, very normal, very, very standard. What is not standard, however, is this. You never saw a Stargate come up in Brood War from the Protoss player. These scouts, they did not have Disruption Web. That was on the Corsair. Corsair is very powerful in Starbo because of their micro ability, so having Disruption Web taken away from them is no deficit to the Corsair whatsoever. But scouts definitely needed the love. They're just so cost inefficient from Brood War. And
now, as far as the mechanical differences between the two games go, the biggest one you will notice is there's three major changes: the economy, unit pathing, and the damage models. So you're gonna if you click on the scout, you're gonna notice that it does explosive damage, and this basically means that any kind of damage other than normal damage will always do less damage to certain armor types. Now in StarCraft 2, you got Marauders who always do more damage to armor. But in this, there's the Disruption Web.
Yep, the D-Web. Making sure that Siege Tank can't shoot the Dragoons.
This is amazing.
And that's such a nice play.
One fewer Siege Tank on the field.
And
cutting it in half, really.
That's actually pretty significant, because sniping a Siege Tank delays the Terran third base. Terran has to hit critical mass to be able to control this space out in front of his main base here. All of this ground has to be controlled, so he can expand down here to the third. This base is a mineral only. Terran does not want a mineral only as mech. Mech is incredibly gas heavy, and they definitely want to get that gas expansion. Oh, Dragoon getting baited in a little bit. What were you about to say, Bob?
Yeah, if you guys aren't familiar with what Disruption Web does, it basically puts down, it's like blinding cloud. Anything underneath it cannot shoot at all, and that does include friendly units. Now the thing is, AI doesn't automatically move out of it like they do for Blinding Cloud, because their attacks are literally disabled. Oh, Spider Mines! Ooh, taking a big hit there.
Wow.
So when Disruption Web starts coming into play, the other player has to really micro the crap out of his units to make sure that they can actually just fire. Now Nomisking is, I think, a little overextended here. Those, once an observer comes out, actually that's pretty far away. His Robo Bay just got started, and there's a vulture run by in this natural. So he's gonna have to be pulled back for a little while.
Now these mines going down in the mineral line are not going to do much unless units walk back there, and the vultures are getting caught here. Sorry, I'm not a procaster, guys. Not very following very well.
The way mines work is anything that can physically touch the ground will set them off. And any worker for any of the races, they don't physically touch the ground, so they are completely safe from these, unless a zealot just happens to wander by.
Hovering units do not trigger them, as Avex you said correctly. Workers don't trigger them. Archons hover as well. Vultures also hover.
Now, do they? Did the Dark Templars set them off in this? I forgot.
They should not. If they do, it's an oversight. I don't think they do, no.
They did in Brood War, which is, a little bit annoying for the
I think they're supposed to be hovering. Although Dark Archons...
Dark Templar? They walk. Oh, this naked mineral line. 4 vultures.
Yeah, oh no, and it's so full. And you notice he is focus firing, which is pretty important. They will one-shot probes when focus fired. The probes regen on the shields, however, will make them take 3 shots to kill instead of 2, which will definitely limit the number of probes that go down without proper focus fire. Though he was using all 4 on 1, which is a little inefficient. And one thing I like about Avex's build is that he only made 2 scouts. He didn't go completely ham with them. He's mostly using them for their utility. And he's using that as a platform to get this third base.
Alright, Steve just finished with these vultures, and these probes are just going to get picked off one by one. This is the perfect way to play in a TVP. Your Terran, your main army is going to be so immobile that you may as well not move out with it until you can. Meanwhile, you send out these vultures. They almost act like Zerglings, and you just keep the Protoss pinned back. And this is how you contest map control with the Protoss.
And we see another run by that was just in the main, just got pushed back. So action happening all across the map. Bit of a scouting zealot here. Gonna get took down by these vultures. These vultures do bonus damage to non-armored units, or to correctly say, they do 20 damage to small. 10 damage to medium and 5 damage to large, so they're not very effective against Dragoons. However, shields don't get counted in that. So they
Yeah.
do full damage to shields. So something like an Archon just gets shredded by Vultures.
It's so funny to watch.
Vulture's very akin to the...
Oh, look at this. Nomisking
Oh.
is expanding towards Protoss and getting that mineral-only expo. It's an
Yeah.
interesting choice.
And that is a bit of a better option in the short term. He's going to be able to make a lot of Vultures with this mineral only,
Yeah,
but I would like to see him go ahead and just take the extra step, walk up this ramp, because it's the same number of chokes, and go ahead and control this gas space. I think would have been a much better option for him.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why... Go ahead.
Oh yeah, okay, so something I want to comment about siege tanks in this is that unlike StarCraft 2, they actually overkill, which means if a single probe comes into a siege line, then you can have 6 tanks shooting at it all at once, essentially wasting 5 shots. So ideally, you want to spread them out as much as you can, and you want depth more than breadth in a siege line.
And one of the big threats siege tanks have is themselves. Siege tanks being clumped up is extremely problematic.
I think he's a little annoyed that these vultures are getting away so easily.
And that is one thing that Starbow balance creators had to take into account, was the increased micromobility that vultures receive. They're so fast, and the AI pathing is so efficient. And if you notice, right now they're kind of getting into these thin lines. That's because the Starbow creators had to go back and derp the pathing to make them less reliable when just A-clicking. However, if you spam click, like in Brood War, they still move more efficiently. But see how
if you hit
when
Control R, you're gonna see you're gonna see what the state of the game is. Meanwhile, Avex isn't even mining off his third base. He's got a miss rally going on. Just getting probes piled up on the mineral line there.
Oh wow, yep.
Now, normally in this matchup, because of the immobile nature of mech, and Terran pretty much always goes mech, Protoss will be expanding like a Zerg. And it looks like he chose to make carriers.
And the carrier got revealed. That's pretty
Yeah.
significant.
Normally, carriers it's a surprise unit because, Terran's not going to be making a bunch of Goliaths to kill Zealots and Dragoons. That's what the tanks are for. But then you get about 6 or 7 carriers out, without him knowing. Then you can snipe off, a huge mass of siege tanks before Goliaths are even on the field.
And this is sort of a trigger for Nomisking saying, hey, look, you just showed me carriers. I know you don't have the gas on the few bases you have to be making carriers and arbiters, so I'm going to go ahead and push before your carrier transition can come into full effect. And if we puck up here the production tab, we do see more and more Goliaths coming out. And to expand on what our co-caster was just talking about, check out the damage against ground for Goliaths. It's a measly 12 and an attack speed that's pretty much double. Oh no, all of these scouts are getting took down. These scouts are going to be very pivotal in holding this with their D-web on the tanks. No distraction web is no longer available for the Protoss. You don't have to rely solely on carrier micro. It's going to be a bit of an uphill battle. Although, one thing to note is all of these mines are directly in front of the siege tanks.
Yeah,
so,
if he can get a few good mine drags into these siege tanks. Although, now that I say that, this siege line is perfectly spread out. This is going to be,
here comes the
really
Zealots in. That one
break.
Zealot just took up all of the mines, which is very efficient. Here
Now, you
comes
can see what I was talking about, the depth of the siege line. You kill these tanks and you're inching forward, but there's even more tanks behind it, and there's more rally behind that. So it's near impossible to just wade into this army of tanks and actually get a good outcome.
And the
Meanwhile,
Terran
these
player is
Goliaths-
macroing so heavily behind this.
Terran's got more than double the supply right now, which you don't see often in Brood War. Something to be noted, Brood War, the supply count tends to remain a lot lower throughout the game. So, you actually don't see a lot of, maxed out
Maxing
supply
it out.
armies because in StarCraft 2, a lot of it is more about composition and positioning. But in this, it's more about taking ground, map control, and and just trading with your opponent. And looks like
Yeah.
Protoss could not trade well enough.